My heart has exploded, burned, and reconstituted itself as a new vessel, pulsating with scorching blood for the love of the Saboteur. Created by Pandemic Studios, developers of Destroy All Humans and Mercenaries, this was the studio's last gasp before closure. I recognize that saying that a game has aged well has become all too common, but after 16 years of graphics card updates and patches, the Saboteur is now a more complete, driver update-induced 4K 60 frames per second masterpiece, at least on the PC version. The Saboteur's unique aesthetic is more fully realized than it was on the Xbox 360, which was still figuring out 1080p high definition at half the frames. Additionally, maybe back in 2009, so many Sandbox games were unfairly labeled GTA clones, creating a high bar for any such game to vault over due to an alleged lack of originality. We're past that now, right? Plus, after the past decade of world events, the Saboteur has matured into something more substantive and topical for reasons unrelated to the development of the game. But this video is not about politics, at least not intentionally. It's about how bitchin' the Saboteur is. God, I love this game and its incandescent blood burn. If there's one thing I've learned about myself lately, it's what I want out of a video game. 69% carnage, 20% mayhem, 10% pyromania, and 1% sex. The Saboteur delivers on my bodily demands. No long intro this time, here we go. Okay, before here we go, subscribe to my YouTube channel and set the bell to all so that you never miss a video. The algorithm forgot about me years ago and I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. Support me on Patreon, it's how I pay for rent and groceries, link in the description. Okay, now here we go. I am the Irishman. The Saboteur is set in Nazi-occupied France during World War II. The player assumes the role of Sean Devlin, an Irishman stuck in Paris in 1940, unable to return home. The Saboteur is a sandbox game, and the sandbox is the City of Lights. Sean accepts missions from the local resistance movement, which forms the core gameplay. Accessing restricted areas requires cunning and guile. Sean could race into the restricted zone, guns blazing, grenades tossing, or the time-tested car battering ram technique, good, clean, wholesome fun. And while those options exist within the Saboteur, even on the easiest difficulty setting, the direct approach would not lead to victory most of the time. A far more reliable strategy for gaining access is disguising Sean as a Nazi. Sean can creep behind a Nazi, snap his neck, or forearm shiver him into next week, and collect his outfit. Shooting a Nazi ruins their uniform because of all the blood. Snap the neck and watch the helmet pop off like an LA Noire fedora. Afterwards, Sean must slowly and carefully sneak into the Nazi base without history's biggest losers spotting him. Of course, a disguise does not make Sean invisible, it merely protects him from being spotted for a few seconds if he is near a Nazi. Anything more than that and the Nazis will be like, hey, wait a minute, that's not Hans the Nazi. I know Hans the Nazi. He's a friend of mine, and you, sir, are no Hans the Nazi. And then they just start blasting. The Saboteur is a heck of a lot more than Nazi impersonation, though. Sean must also climb buildings to avoid capture and detection. Sean can scale any tower or skyscraper without any chance of slipping. He slides down electrical cables, tosses Nazis off towers, all the wham-bam espionage action you could ask for. Each mission is different, but many tasks involve my favorite thing to do in a video game: blow stuff up! Sean sabotages Nazi facilities with dynamite and whatever else he can get his hands on. Between missions, Sean has the freedom to roam around the city and the countryside, find Nazi machinery and set it ablaze. The skeleton of the Saboteur is Grand Theft Auto, but the muscles and nervous system are Red Faction Guerrilla and Just Cause 2. The visuals are an unholy amalgamation of Sin City and Schindler's List. If the Nazis are in control of an area, the color scheme is black and white, with specks of red that highlight Nazi presence, not to mention blood. When Sean rids the area of Nazi scum, a Technicolor explosion washes over the land, permanently colorizing this neighborhood. It's non-diegetic, a visual shift related to player action that can only work within the medium of video games. Driving out the Nazis presents new opportunities, new weapons availability, new allies, but there is so much more to this game. These are only the gameplay basics. This is a sandbox game. That means there is so much goofy, janky, buggy, and explosively fun stuff to do, and I will get to that. Oh, yes, I will, but first this. Raised in the hills of Ireland. After the tutorial mission, Sean flashes back to a brightly colored prologue. Even before the Nazis started patrolling the borders, Sean could not return to Ireland. He's a wanted fugitive sought for crimes that the game never explicitly details, but we can take some educated guesses based on the time, the place, and his skills. He took off for France, and he found work as a mechanic and race car driver for Vittorio Morini, and befriended fellow mechanic Jules. Even after the tutorial mission, the game still tutors me, and here is where the Grand Theft Auto comparisons emerge. Although Sean is not a car thief, not someone in the mafia, but is someone with friendly ties to the people of the neighborhood, he still steals cars to get everywhere he needs to go. When the game first asked me to do this, I was like, oh no, I can feel it happening, the ludonarrative dissonance. I thought we all moved past discussing this, but oh shit, this game was released right after Grand Theft Auto 4, when the topic was making the rounds. Sean's behavior between missions runs contrary to how he is portrayed during missions and in cutscenes. I steadfastly refuse to hijack a car in this beautiful hamlet and run to the destination instead. I only get in the truck that we are legally allowed to drive. Cows on my side. At the bar, German race car drivers march in. Their outfits make them look like 90s Marvel comics when they started wearing costumes that looked both modern and anachronistic. Their leader is a man named Kurt Dierker. I love a character with an approximate rhyming name. A fight breaks out and I fall in love with the blood animation. I tend to prefer stylized depictions of blood instead of realistic and graphic. It's Mortal Kombat blood, it's Hotline Miami blood. The race goes well enough until Kurt Dierker cheats. Sean gets revenge by totaling Dierker's race car, but oh no, the hottest Nazi in Europe shows up. Kurt Dierker tortures Sean and Jules thinking they work for British intelligence, and Jules tragically meets his end. I love how the colors shift the moment Jules dies. We get the sense that the colorless areas are not just about Nazi occupation, but Sean reliving his friend dying at the hands of the Nazis. Every time he reclaims a neighborhood, he avenges Jules. Sean climbing the gargantuan lightning bolt symbol in the rain is so dope. Big action set piece, dark and stormy night, music swelling, pressing buttons not to die. Excellent stuff. The getaway is a rip-roaring good time, especially when I hijack a swastika car. See, this is the kind of car theft that makes sense in this game, not ripping off the locals instead of figuring out the bus schedule. Out of my way, I'm Hitler! Look, this is loads of fun, but we need to talk about... The Saboteur presents us with a serious, gritty narrative about revenge and justice. It takes place during one of the low points of the 20th century, Nazis rolling across Europe, and is set against the backdrop of occupied France, the beating heart of the resistance movement. It also has a lot of boobies! Big, small, spectacular, wackular boobies prominently displayed for our waiting eyeballs. The 2000s marked a shift in mainstream console gaming. Whereas the 90s finally delivered graphic violence outside of the arcade setting and into our homes, the 2000s took the next logical step. More sex and more nudity. Not everyone owned an NEC PC 98. The shameless but welcome pandering began to ease up in the next decade as the video game industry concluded that it needed to be taken as seriously as the film industry. By that point, mainstream blockbusters contained fewer naked bodies. In the modern world of gaming, there has been a marginal revival due to the much talked about sex scenes in Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3, but the times have clearly changed. In 2025, a publisher like Bethesda is not going to release a game called Wet, but in the 2000s, everyone was getting soaked. Oh, the Saboteur? It was released in December of 2009, the last opportunity in the decade for high-definition full frontal before we had to grow up and mature ourselves into something resembling tasteful. In the options menu, nudity can be turned on or off. I turned it on despite the fact that this would make editing this video and putting it up on YouTube more of a chore. I mean, the option is right there. I usually need to download mods to make everyone stark naked nowadays, but the Saboteur has the nude cheat code built right in. The Saboteur opens with nudity. It is literally the first image in the game. As we zoom out, we see drunken Nazis enjoying the scenery. Oh, I get it. I'm leering at her and the Nazis are revealed to be leering at her too. I see what you did there, the Saboteur. I feel a teeny bit ashamed. Well done. I mean, not enough for me to turn off the nudity, but still, you got me. Kudos. If you have Sean wander on stage, the game reacts to this by making the Nazis boo loudly. A nice little touch that makes the game feel more alive. Sean lives in the back room of the Bell, complete with holes in the wall where the men can see it all. Aha, so this is that famed place in France where the ladies wear no pants. I knew it wasn't just a myth, the prophecy has been fulfilled. The Saboteur is unceasingly horny. Even the opening studio credits have a butt. Look everyone, look at that butt! Don't get it twisted, I'm not complaining. Being a modern man does not equal being sexless or celibate. I appreciate a good old-fashioned French derriere as much as anyone. Thanks for the loan word, France. We have made good use of it. Honestly, even if you remove the nudity completely, you will still be inundated with unceasing horniness. The Saboteur is a lascivious game, to put it mildly, a product of 2009 console gaming. In other words, if all of this salaciousness is a turn-off, you can't fully turn it off. The Saboteur's hypersexualization runs deeper than mere boobs and buttocks. For example, everything Skylar says to Sean is dripping with sexual innuendo. Skylar is a classic femme fatale, and being a seductress is part of the archetype. Even the lone woman SS officer is showing a lot of cleavage. These are some hot Nazis. Hotsies? In reality, women were forbidden from joining the SS, but that has never stopped the sexualization of Nazi women in film and other media. The Saboteur relents from its hormone overdrive whenever someone is about to have sex. In 1940s cinema fashion, we fade to black, and that will just have to be enough to satisfy the audience. As best I can tell, there are no openly gay characters in the game or even implied gay characters. Gay Paris is just Paris in the Saboteur. Sean engages in a euphemism related to sexual orientation once, and that is about it.
You and I are about 2 seconds from doing the business, Devlin. Sorry, mate. I'm strictly butter side up.
The Saboteur is aggressively heterosexual, no way around it. Sean talks about boning all the time, it never ends. He is perpetually randy, or at least wishes to convey that to anyone within earshot. When Sean is forced to vacate the Bell and live underground, even his new bunker is lined with pin-ups. I'm not shaming this fictional man or even the developers, it's hysterical. It's just, Sean has a case of the not gays. He needs to constantly remind everyone around him that he is strictly butter side up. When Sean is escaping Nazis, he can make use of a hiding place marked with a green dot on the map. Wouldn't you know it, some hiding places are horny. Sean can slip inside a brothel, though I have no earthly idea why this would be something that would deter the Nazis. They are everywhere in the Bell. Another hiding opportunity is the classic making out trick. Do Nazis start losing track of someone if they start going to town on a local hottie? I wonder how long the Saboteur will remain listed on Steam before some bank or processor gives into even more pressure. C'est la vie.
I am the Irishman.
Once the wheel starts turning and the resistance starts resisting, Sean meets Santos, the black market Spaniard. Santos assigns Sean missions throughout Paris, but he does not work for the resistance. He is merely useful to the resistance because of his connections. In the Saboteur, the economy is contraband. It may as well be dollars or francs, but contraband makes sense narratively. It's lore-friendly. In the early goings, figuring out the best methods of avoiding detection can be a little tricky, but therein lies the fun and the challenge. The Saboteur is not Thief, though. In Thief, if you are detected, fighting your way out probably won't work. That's what makes Thief, Thief. In the Saboteur, if you are detected, fighting your way out is still an option and a hell of a good time. An approach to a mission has no wrong answers, only degrees of right. There are exceptions, though. In this Act 1 mission, I need to take out a Nazi at the behest of this man with a hook hand. I shoot and shoot and shoot, but the game tells me that this is the wrong way to do it. What gives? It turns out I must ensure that the target knows why he's dying. I need to give him a "my boss sends his regards" tough guy statement before delivering him to his grave. I must ask, why? Once he knows why this is happening, that knowledge goes with him. There is no lasting effect. It's cool though, right? In this mission I need to sneak by, but some Nazis will just freak out and come after me faster than others. Even Nazis panic at the sight of Nazi uniforms. The inconsistency keeps me on my toes, at least. I must remain alert. Sometimes I lose my disguise mere seconds after attaining it. When I get caught, I go all in, slamming my truck into anything that moves, sometimes things that don't move. But seriously, the Saboteur does not punish the player too much when caught. It only limits the avenues on the way to victory. As Act 1 progresses, Veronique, the sister of Jules, shows herself to be a real badass. And I appreciate that. The Saboteur is so obsessed with women's bodies that it's refreshing that there is a strong female character whose sexuality is not in the forefront of her personality. I mean, she's still hot, of course. Act 1 is all about Sean recovering this mysterious box from the Nazis. The Nazis have a MacGuffin and Sean must salvage this for unexplained reasons. Here's the thing. Although Sean is never told what is in the box, and the camera moves away when he takes a peek, we know enough about Nazis in popular culture to determine that it's the Ark of the Covenant. Although I did not catch this Easter egg, apparently there is some incidental dialogue between two Nazis about a character from Raiders of the Lost Ark. During the escape, I accidentally drive the Ark of the Covenant into a stream, and that is seemingly enough to destroy it. Speaking of religion,
I am the Irishman.
all Sandbox games with a city setting have civilians and passers-by to give the setting a lived-in vibe. The Saboteur contains something extra special: a plethora of priests and scores of nuns. Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row feature a limited number of nuns, not even enough to fill one convent, but in the Saboteur, it's nuns aplenty, lots of priests too. I need only drive around for about a minute or two before spying a man of the cloth. Nuns are not exclusively Catholic. Nuns can also be found in the Anglican Communion and Eastern Orthodox Church. Even so, I am 99% certain that these are Catholic nuns and priests. French government data proves that Protestant denominations and Eastern Orthodox churches are slim pickings in France. Parisians love their Notre Dame Cathedral and their patron saint, Quasimodo. The Saboteur is as Catholic as holy water and stank incense. Even Sean has that Irish Catholic characterization. After all, his motivation throughout much of the game is the guilt that he feels for the death of Jules. To Catholics, guilt is an old friend. The Saboteur features a priest as a supporting character, Father Dennis. A member of the resistance movement, the Good Padre has missions for Sean. One task has Sean take on the role of a sharpshooter, wait for the signal and blow a hole in a Nazi collaborator. The mission requires some patience. That patience pays off with a sweet headshot. Just another way that the Saboteur guides the player into doing more than just run and gun. I rewarded Father Dennis by taking him ramp jumping in my car. He has never been closer to heaven. Sandbox games have the potential for player-created mini-games. Two commonalities that span this genre are random kill-crazy rampages and steering vehicles in the direction of pedestrians. Vehicular homicide is an ideal crime. I didn't do it, the vehicle did. It says so in the name. Case closed, Your Honor. Now where's my medal? I lack the ability to disguise Sean as a nun or a priest. The disguise option only materializes when standing over a Nazi. I feel that this is a failing of the game. Just imagine how much more variety the Saboteur would contain if Sean could simply sneak behind a nun, twist her neck like a glass bottle of Pepsi, infiltrate a Nazi base, and detonate these hate fetishists, all while dressed like Sister Mary Margaret O'Shaughnessy. Wasn't that the plot of Sister Act 2? Here are some of my favorite Catholic catastrophes in the Saboteur. I was tailing this nun, and by that I mean I was right on her backside, gently driving behind her. You know, like a maniac. Suddenly, I saw the nun pass by a priest. I couldn't pass up an opportunity for a twofer. I aligned the car and drove into the nun first and then the priest. Had to take out a handful of bystanders to do it, but if they didn't want to be vehicular manslaughtered, they wouldn't have stood so close to a nun. When I drove over this nun, I felt that she deserved a Viking funeral. I lit my dynamite next to her body, blessing her with a free cremation. I'll scatter her ashes somewhere appropriate, like the stage of the bell. On another occasion, I spotted a priest on the sidewalk and tried to plant dynamite in his path, but he noticed what I was up to and ran off. However, in his frightened state, he didn't detect me planting more dynamite directly behind him. The game still marks this as sabotage, but I'm uncertain what I'm sabotaging besides my chances of avoiding hell. Here, I observed a nun walking down the sidewalk near a Nazi truck. I wondered, would the Nazis react if I annihilated a nun into black and white chunks right in front of them? Nope. The Nazis will snatch me off the street if I so much utter a single word in Hebrew, but crushing every bone in the body of a non-cloistered nun? Well, they don't have the manpower to arrest someone for such a minor infraction. Cloistered or nada, that's the Nazi way. Much in the same way that garlic is the best weapon to use against a vampire, or silver is the quickest way to stop a werewolf, the most effective weapon to use against a priest is a flamethrower. Who's gonna burn forever now, Father? Ecclesiastic immolation always gets the job done. While I was fleeing from the Nazis, I saw a nun out of the corner of my eye. I was not searching for nuns to execute while I was running from the Gestapo, but then something occurred to me. This could be a new challenge, murdering a nun while in escape mode. She tried to get away, but I sprinted and found her cowering in fear. What do nuns have to be afraid of? Aren't they all going to heaven? Nuns and priests are all over Paris, but if I want to go for the high score, the church is the best spot in town. They're everywhere. I went on a flamethrower rampage on church grounds. Basically, I followed the inverse of Highlander rules. Immortal swordsmen are not permitted to do battle on holy ground. I, a mere mortal, view church murder as more of a double dog dare. This is my absolute favorite. When I was in the church, I forgot that running would upset the Nazis. Mowing down a nun, no reaction whatsoever. But moving at a moderate pace? Sound the alarm! Only resistance fighters jog briskly. Once my suspicion meter skyrocketed, I couldn't talk to Father Dennis. Cornered and caught, I decided to go out with a bang and attached dynamite to his chair. I died too, but it was worth the sacrifice. Act 2 has trains. I need to blow up this train to locomotive hell. To do so, I need to guide Sean to the right pressure points and flip the switch. Soon after, Sean walks in on Veronique and Luke about to share a bottle of champagne. Sean is upset about this because he has a thing for Veronique.
Enjoying the spoils of war, are we? Struggle must be going well.
The resistance grows stronger every day.
Skylar turns out to be a secret agent working for British intelligence, and her superiors need Sean to rescue a scientist. The Nazis are working on nuclear weapons. Unacceptable. Only Sean is allowed to blow everything up. To accomplish this, Sean must board another train. I love this action sequence, hopping from one cart to another. In fact, the Saboteur does this well throughout the game. Some missions have Sean board a Zeppelin, other missions have Sean on rooftops. Still others have Sean escaping while firing big honkin' guns. Each mission can be accomplished a number of ways, and each mission is noticeably different from the previous mission. That counts for a lot, at least to me. For example, I love Fallout New Vegas, but so many quests are just go there, fetch that, talk to him, the end. The story, the humor, and the differing conclusions to the quests keep the game interesting and compelling, but most quests do start to feel a little samey about halfway through the adventure. The Saboteur shakes things up over and over and over again, giving me enough routine that I become better at the basics, but also enough variation that I never become bored. I don't avoid side hustles in the Saboteur, I seek them out.
I am the Irishman.
Okay, it's time. It's finally time. Everyone who clicks on a video about a sandbox game or a CRPG is hoping for one thing: doing weird stuff. Sandbox games and CRPGs need to make their worlds feel real, and in doing so, screw-ups happen. For example, during this in-engine cutscene, this happens in the background. And during another in-engine cutscene, this happens. When developers create a simulacrum of a living world, enormous possibilities open up. Even something like L.A. Noire that restricts a lot of movement and violent actions still contains those precious moments of, let's see what happens when I do this. The Saboteur is perfect for this mode of play because A, it's a comparatively unique setting and does not resemble GTA, Saints Row, or anything like that, and therefore has some aesthetically novel elements. And B, all the explosions and crashes and whatnot happen at the expense of a bunch of fucking Nazis. The righteous indignation makes everything more fun. First game within a game that I enjoy is Car Trap. The object of the game is to create walls of cars, roadblocks, and see how many pedestrians I can trap inside. The space between one roadblock and another cannot be more than approximately 3 car lengths. The Saboteur provides a unique challenge to this game because the streets are not packed with cars. I need to grab a car, make part of the wall, sprint away, and repeat until both walls are complete. While I'm sprinting, pedestrians can wander away, so it ends up being a time challenge as well. In the Saboteur, my record is 8 pedestrians. Once trapped and counted, I tend to murderize them into chunks and detonate the car walls. Another game is Escape. In the Saboteur, escaping the Nazis is thrilling and… wait, what just happened? Let's go to the instant replay. That's great, but it's even more exciting if I can find a ramp. Oh yeah! Oh, there's another one. Oh yeah! I wonder if I can plow into these flammable barrels, set the car on fire, and survive. Wait, how? How did Sean make it through this still smelling like perfume? Unbelievable. I like using the mechanics that are specific to a game's unique sandbox. Can I attach dynamite to a vehicle, get in the vehicle, roll it into the Nazis, and bail out in time to survive the explosion? No. Let me try again. No. Okay, one more time. Yes! Sensational stuntman fireworks. I love it. Another game is Lemon Car Challenge. I find the worst and least reliable vehicle and attempt to perform stunts that would be better suited for a top quality vehicle. Behold, the Junker. The Saboteur makes spotting the worst car really easy because the car is literally called the Junker. Watch the Junker fly off the ramp. Badly. Can the Junker break through cobblestone walls? No. Wait, what is this? Is this a bug? Look at this tree. The Junker sniffs out bugs like pigs smelling truffles. What? The Junker has been trapped by bushes. Time to teabag this guy. The Junker commands it. Alright, enough goofing around. Time for Act 3.
This year, and I'm sure I
The third act is comparatively brief, it's about the length of the prologue. The third act feels narratively weak for reasons I will explain, but it does have some of the best missions. Sean must climb the rooftops and tamper with a series of Nazi radios, but the moment he starts futzing about with the first one, a timer kicks in and now it's a race against the clock to hit them all. It took me more than a few attempts to get this right, and it's not like I had the difficulty way up. A very tense mission. Then we get more blimp stuff. I adore the blimp stuff.
That's one hell of a view. This city has seen better days, but the old girl hasn't lost her charm.
Finally, after no mandatory racing since the prologue, Sean must drive his race car once again. Yes, there is some optional racing, but this is not central to the narrative. The third act of any story ups the stakes with some new threat or new disaster. In the case of the Saboteur, the Resistance headquarters has been destroyed and their other hideout has been infiltrated by the Nazis. Once again, the developers fashion an action set piece to the delight of any player. During this mission, Santos is revealed to have betrayed the Resistance. I'm not a fan of this. Santos is always portrayed as self-serving but useful. His betrayal and eventual comeuppance means nothing. It's unsatisfying. Santos should have had an arc where he starts off selfish and ends up grudgingly siding with the Resistance because, hey, Spaniards were pretty upset about fascism around this time too, you know? Instead, Santos just kinda eats it, and that's it. No arc, no redemption, not even a big reveal. Santos helping the Nazis is just not that shocking. Speaking of narratively unsatisfying, Luke is trapped, and Veronique must put him out of his misery and prevent him from being tortured by the Nazis for information. This would have been so much more meaningful if the romance between Veronique and Luke had played out more. It exists in the margins of the story and only from the perspective of Sean, who is a little envious. Skylar gets no big send-off either, and that disappoints me to no end. Sure, Skylar exists mostly to be a sexpot honeypot, but she has dimension and character. In one mission, she mentions how far she is willing to go for the cause. Skylar was born into money, and didn't have to join British intelligence and fight the Nazis, and she did anyway. There could have been more to her. There could have been more for her to do at the end besides sit in the passenger seat of a car and that's it? Not even a wave goodbye. And the final boss encounter with Kurt Dirker? You ascend the staircases, see a bunch of dying Nazis, meet the man who murdered Jules, and you just kinda shoot him. Once, and he's dead. I get the feeling that the developer had to rush the ending. The last mission taking place on the Eiffel Tower is a little hack, but it would have been fine if the climax had been, you know, a climax, and not whatever this was. To spice things up, I had Sean do this. The good news is that the game does not fully end after the credits roll. I can have Sean continue his efforts and take on side missions that I neglected to do before the final boss. Santos is obviously missing, but the Nazis don't just up and leave Paris once Dirker is dead. There is always another Nazi. The Saboteur may have a handful of historical inaccuracies and cringe characterizations, but it is otherwise a fabulous game. I wish I could play the flawless needle drops for you, but YouTube would demonetize the video and give money to the estate of Nina Simone. And maybe they deserve it, but I have rent due. Take my word for it, the soundtrack is silky smooth and caresses my ears. The variety of weapons is also worth a mention. Look how many ways I can plug holes in Nazis and incinerate their trucks and tanks. Beautiful. Weak third act resolutions aside, I am all about this game, and it's tragic that there was no sequel and that the only Saboteur game that we got was given a lot of dreadful 7 out of 10s that gamers believe may as well be Mr. Yuck stickers. Pandemic Studios, the developers of the Saboteur, was shut down a few weeks prior to the game's release. That might account for the rush job. Electronic Arts cut 1,500 jobs that year, and only a few dozen Pandemic employees were saved and absorbed into different projects. Pandemic Studios left behind a legacy, and that history should be given another look by the gaming community, especially as it pertains to the Saboteur. This game is sensationally fun and absolutely gorgeous. Look at this. Breathtaking. We could use a sequel, maybe one that takes place in modern day or some alternate, crazy dimension in which the Nazis have returned, right?